Hello and welcome back to FGO Blog and Photography. I'm Steven. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys a simple tip related to toy and figure photography. And the topic today, I'm just making use of this figure, this setup right here as an example, but it is applicable in several other different situations and not just toy or figure photography. Also, the topic today has something to do with framing your shots, otherwise known as the composition in photography. And composition is something very flexible and there are no exact rules of it. There are over several dozen methods when it comes to composition in photography and in art in general. The most famous one perhaps is the rule of thirds, this grid. But there are a few dozen other methods you can make use of depending on how creative you are. And in almost every shooting situations in photography, we tend to want our photos to be level. We do not want the photo to be tilted to any one side whenever possible. And when that does happen, we tend to put the image into photo editing software and we rotate it ever so slightly until the shot is actually level. Then we'll crop it. That is what we usually do. However, there is one very specific composition method where you deliberately, intentionally tilt the photo on one side, and that is known as the Dutch tilt method. Now the Dutch tilt method, I have already mentioned this in an older photography tutorial, but not here on YouTube. It is over in my Facebook page, and that was many years ago, at least 5 years ago. And since that is old content and nobody is going to dig up an old Facebook post from 5 years ago, I'm refreshing this tutorial but in the form of a YouTube video right here today. So what is the Dutch tilt? Dutch tilt is where you deliberately tilt your shot on one side, and which side do you tilt your shot is dependent on the pose, on the action of the subject in the scene. When you are not sure which side to tilt, then you just give it a try, you tilt on to either side and then you go by intuition which one looks better. But for the more experienced photographers, they will know which side to tilt. The Dutch tilt method is mainly used in situations where the main subject has a very dynamic pose, such as jumping, dashing forward, running, or executing an attack. Dynamic pose, action pose, that is where you can consider making use of the Dutch tilt method when you frame your photographs. This figure right here, I'm making use of her as an example. This is Seiritsu no Hassan from Fate's Grand Order, and going by the pose of this figure, she is dashing forward, executing an attack. This is an ideal candidate to make use of the Dutch tilt method when you photograph photos of her. This Dutch tilting method is not restricted to photography itself. It is used in digital artworks. It is used in animation, in movie, in filming in general. If you paid attention to some anime scenes, opening theme songs for example, the opening theme video, you will see some action poses where the moment the attack, the movement is going on in the scene, they will deliberately tilt the scene to varying degrees. As the character dashes forward, the entire scene is tilted by quite a fair degree, a fair amount. Sometimes paying attention to what you see in anime, in film, taking screenshots even, might help with the inspiration of how to frame your shots when you do toy photography, figure photography in general. I'm sure a lot of Marvel DC comic action figure photographers can relate to that. Even though this tilting method can make your photographs look a bit better sometimes, do not abuse this method. For example, never use it on any figures that have a rather static pose regardless of whether they are standing or sitting. Figures that are sweeping a floor in a maid uniform or maybe sitting on a couch, never use the tilt method because your photographs will look terrible. The best tip I can give you guys, the summary for this video today, you can try the tilt method when you are dealing with an action pose, just to make your scene look a bit more dynamic. Action poses, yes. So I hope this video today will be very helpful to you guys, especially to those of you who are exploring the genre of toy photography, figure photography, and you have some very nice figure with a very nice pose you might want to try tilting your shot a bit when you're taking photographs of them. Hopefully this video will be informational to all of you watching this video. Thank you very much for following with me to the end for watching this video, and I shall see you guys again. Goodbye.